Good evening, I'm Manisha Rana. I am right now leading marketing for magicbricks.com, and prior to this I was with Amazon. How I'd like to take this evening is I've summarized my career learnings in 12 points. 12 years of my career in 12 learnings that I think that you would like to take home with you that can help shape, define how you would want your careers to be. Whether it's e-commerce or not in e-commerce, those learnings will work through any organization or any startup that you would be working on. With limited experience myself in a real startup mode with a startup organization, though I worked with Make My Trip, who had actually crossed the phase of startup, being a startup really for a long time. I'd just like to share the 12 learnings I've put together, I think I learned in my career. There is no substitute to hard work. As much as you and I would want to believe somewhere there are shortcuts, there is no substitute to hard work. Assuming that there is a lot of work that needs to go behind some opportunity, right? And we may pass over it because we think we're not cut out for doing that hard work. But if we are open and if we are willing to do the dirty work that is really needed and all the hard work that is needed, whether it's be weekends, holidays, whatever it takes, then I think there is nothing stopping any one of us from scaling heights in our career. You should always have a plan. And point number 2 is, you should know it will not work. You should always be ready to scale up fast. In today's amazing ecosystem that we have for our economy, for the startup environment that we have, this unpredictability can also come in the form of being able to scale up extremely fast. Today you are at point A, and the kind of growth like PayU has seen in the last 3 years, that was unpredictable. Maybe with due respect, I'm sure they evangelized that growth coming in. But that infinite percentage of growth, you should be ready for any kind of an unpredictable environment coming your ways. You should fail, but you should fail forward. There is nobody who will ever succeed without failing, right? If you've not failed, you're not successful. I remember in one of my interviews, they only asked, give us examples of your failures. And they wouldn't select anyone who hadn't failed or who couldn't come up with a convincing answer of when and how they had failed. But the important thing is to fail forward, right? What did you learn out of this failure in your life, and how are you taking it ahead with you in the life? If you fail, you just found out what will not work. Instead of thinking that, oh, I hit a failure, and especially in this ecosystem that we are in, you may fail, and that's okay to fail, but you really figure out what is it that will not work and how that can take you ahead, right? This is a very nice quotation which says, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Right? And a lot of time, regret hurts you much more than fear does. So if you have ideas, if you believe in yourself, and if you think there is something you want to go ahead and try, just go ahead and try. 5 years down the line, the regret will hurt you way more than the fear today of going ahead and trying it. And so be it. Let's fail, but let's fail forward. A very, very important learning I remind myself every time I hit a roadblock. What is that hunger? That hunger is that hunger for excellence. That hunger is that hunger for being intellectually occupied all the time. And if you're not doing that, you're going to be foolish. Foolish because you will not take the risks that you want to take. Foolish that you will not do what you really believe that you want to do. There is this voice in our head who's always telling us what we need to do. Most of the time it is right. We just don't listen to it as often as we should. No matter which stage of your life you are in, one small detail you overlook and everything will come collapsing like a pack of cards. God is really in the details, right? Especially in a field like marketing and advertising, where every communication is consumer focused. Every promise that you make to the consumer about your product, right? God is really in the details. You have to be very, very thorough with what you're doing. But ownership of your work will take you really far ahead. Really far ahead. Right? It's also about end-to-end responsibility, that demonstrates the kind of professional you are in a workplace. In a startup, you have the ownership for everything, from products to, even paying the electricity bill probably is, the ownership that you have, because every individual is a different individual. There is not a single project, no matter even if you're at an individual contributor role in an organization, that you will work alone on. There will always be a team working on. You may fail alone, but you will win together. You will never win alone, and I think this can't be emphasized enough. What would you do if nobody was watching? If you can just answer that question, I think you cracked it well. unfortunately the system of India is such that women are not hired because they're just about to get married. ये तो छुट्टी पे चले जाएगी, you know. And just newly married women coming with chuda, like, you know, ये तो maternity leave पे चले जाएगी बहुत जल्दी. You know, I was hired in Yahoo when I was 4 months pregnant. I did not surprise them after joining. I told them even before the offer was rolled out. And a beautiful answer that organization gave me: we don't discriminate against women for this reason, that just because you're pregnant you should not be hired. In Amazon, they never ask you your second name. Whether it's the guilt of having studied and not done a corporate job, or having done a corporate job and not spending time with your children, you will always live with the guilt. Which guilt you live with is what you decide. The responsibility of using our gender just lies on us. I've seen a lot of women get in a suffering Sita syndrome. Oh my God, my mother-in-law is not well. I have a devil mother-in-law. I have this problem in my house, so I have to leave early. My children are unwell, so I have to go early. By all means, there are enough companies today who respect women and for the work-life balance that they're trying to create. But let's not abuse that. You know, just because I'm sure I represent the women gender in this organization in the corporate world in India, I cannot take this syndrome with me everywhere and make it difficult for the other women who are really trying hard to make it for themselves. Right? And that's about it. Those are the learnings I have to share. Absolutely, I think all the e-commerce players are trying to up the value chain, you know, in terms of the ticket size of the transaction, right? If the 500 rupees is the average selling price of product, we all want to take it up to 5,000 rupees. Needless to say that, but a lot of that cannot happen by just the marketing investment or the strategic investment, right? A lot of that has to happen with products, right? Products at that price being available. Are they available exclusively online? You are going to up that value chain. But to say that today if it's 500 ASP and tomorrow morning it becomes, or in a year it will become 5,000, that won't happen. So the e-commerce criteria is right now to move people from an offline model to an online model first. That's priority one. That's the low-hanging fruit, as we call it, right? And yes, people who have been transacting online for a while, like Book My Show, they enhanced their scope of work from just doing book tickets to now plays, to events, to theaters, where ticket size might be higher, right? You bring in bundle offers, you do a flight plus hotel kind of an offering, where you take a ticket size higher. It's just not about saying, hey, we have higher quality product, we have a better product, come and buy it. So when you say strategic actions that the companies are taking, there are some, but a lot of that is linked to the product offering that you have, how unique that is, right? The same product, an LED today of 50,000 rupees can easily be bought online because it's a commodity now. It's not really, you know, it's a Samsung LED or a LG LED, it will be just the same. There is no technicality or a functionality that will happen. And if your payment gateway has brought in that kind of trust to make sure that you can make the transaction, consumers are